20th, 2016. With Principal Mike Madison lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show that all governing board members are present tonight, and as are all members of cabinet and Dr. Lewis. And that will take us to the welcome statement. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting and remind the audience of the request to address board cards that must be completed and submitted to the board secretary if they wish to speak to an agenda item. Board policy provides for 2 cards, white cards to be submitted in order to speak to an agenda item, and blue cards to be submitted in order to speak during public comments. Policy also states there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Due to the open meeting law, board members are not allowed to address items that are not on the agenda. If you do not want to address the board but wish to give your comments in writing, you can do so on a goldenrod sheet and all members will receive a copy. And we actually do have public comment tonight. This is Dorothy Green. Oh, I'm so sorry, I skipped ahead. All right, approval of agenda. My apologies.
Move the governing board approve agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, public comments. And that will bring us to Dorothy Green, talking about CEA Fund for Children PAC. An update. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm just representing the CEA Fund for Children, which is part of our CEA PAC. I'm Dorothy Green. I'm the Vice President of CEA as well as the PAC Chair. And we just wanted to provide an update for the board and the cabinet as well on the things that we're doing right now for the bond. Before I start, one of the things we wanted to just, as a PAC, think about and talk through are the challenges that we're finding when we're talking to voters and community members. So first I just want to talk about those for a minute. A couple of different just issues that have come up when we've knocked on doors and had conversations with voters. A little bit of confusion still on whether this is going to affect their property taxes, which is understandable because there was a little bit of kickback after the override passed 2 years ago. So questions, and we're working on knowing how to answer that. I know it's not clear that it's completely positive that it won't affect their property taxes, but it's supposed to hold it to a level thing, which is a little vague, a little hard to explain, but that's something that definitely voters are concerned about. Will this affect my property taxes? Another kind of common belief out there is that, hey, Prop 123 just passed. Don't you have all that money for Prop 123? Why are you coming to us for more money? So having to address some of those concerns, which we're able to have those conversations, and then just them wanting to know exactly, maybe more specifically, what exactly we're doing with the money if it passes. Like, does this mean Creighton will be rebuilt? Does this mean, what exactly does it mean? And I know the Capital Committee is talking about those issues and meeting about them, but we're not able to be real specific, obviously, with the voters. So we're able to say, well, here's some ideas that have been, on the list. We're not sure exactly which schools it might impact, but it's definitely to help the whole district. And so, having to address those in less than specific terms. So those are some of the challenges that as a PAC we've talked about. How do we address those when they come up? How do we talk to parents and community members about those when we're talking to the voters at the door? And we're doing a good job so far of working on that. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that we are working closely with James Arns and Yes for Creighton Kids. I'm meeting with him, in fact, this Saturday. We're working together on combining our efforts in terms of lit, in terms of walks, phone banks, things like that. We're also working with other PACs that Madison, Roosevelt, Osborne, some other PACs that are in the general area that also have different things going on, and we're doing some days of action through AEA where we're working in conjunction with them. So we're trying to coordinate and collaborate with other PACs that are working on other types of issues common to ours. So just a quick update on what we're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Green.
And that will take us to the superintendent's report.
Well, good evening, Governing Board. First of all, I want to be sure that you know we have a special treat tonight. Later on in the agenda, we're going to have an introduction and orientation to the fact that we did get the grant for the supper program, which is one of our goals. And of course, with the supper program, we need to be sure it's good for everyone. So we have a sampling for everyone in terms of the Governing Board, and I don't know how far it'll stretch, but Rich is here, someone we stole to help us lead this program. And so this is a part of the superintendent's report, but you'll have a full briefing on it later on in the agenda. So please enjoy, and Rich will orient us later on that. Thank you, Rich. Secondly, I wanted to congratulate Suzanne Sally and Robin Griffin, who have been invited to speak at the National Title I Conference in San Jose, California, on our Laptop One-to-One initiative and the directions we've been going with our ELA adoption. So yay, Robin, and yay, Suzanne. We are going to be proudly represented nationally with all the federal leaders that will be at that conference. Also, Maricel Schweitzer, who's in the audience tonight, has been invited to speak at a Arizona State conference for the pride that we have in our McKinney-Vento program and the methods that we use to identify students and how we have really doubled our identification through her methodical and comprehensive approach. So congratulations to Maricel for being recognized at the state for an outstanding McKinney-Vento program. We look forward to hearing how that goes. I also want to share with you that over 70 people have applied to work on our 14 committees. So we did open it up broader, 7-0. Last year being new, I sort of went, who does what, who likes this, and I reached out in a naive way as best I could to get different voices at the table. And this year, based on some of the feedback I received from the group at this table, to open it up even further. So we have 70 people who have applied and will be a part of 14 committees this year on the goals that we have for the district. I'm really proud of that. We recently, last week, had a Native American parent meeting, and I owe you an apology. I should have made sure you were invited to that. It was a wonderful success. I had it on my calendar. I kind of went like, where am I supposed to be tonight? Oh, okay, I'll go, and I'll do a little wave. I stayed the whole meeting, despite some other desires to be somewhere else. I was so impressed. One of our teachers, who's a kindergarten teacher at Excellencia, Mrs. Dion Mitchell, ran an amazing program for parents to connect with the schools, connect with their culture. We had a dance group called Indigenous Enterprise come and share many dances from many Native American cultures. And there was just pride in the room, and the parents participated, and the students participated, and everyone was there and felt so good. But I owe you an apology because I didn't get the word out to you, and I sure should have. So my apologies for that. It was a successful evening. Congressman Gallego's office and federal officers recently visited our preschool program. We just admitted 100. We got full capacity, 100 students in our preschool program, and they walked away saying this is the highest compliment that we can give in terms of the parent involvement piece, the dual language, and the enrollment filling up so quickly. It's clear that you're meeting a need. You're a model for others to watch. So our congratulations to Katie Starr and Dr. Peterson and the whole team who worked on getting this off the ground. Really appreciate the success of what we're doing as our pipeline comes into kindergarten. Let's see if this is my last one. I feel like I have one more. Yep, there it is. Oh, this afternoon I was invited to be on a radio show. It was talk radio, and given that we're typically the folks who are looking for public support in public education, we said yes to a conservative financial business radio talk show. And I thought, okay, here it comes. What's coming? I want to have a real conversation. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little excited. And it was such a positive experience. And it will be airing on AM 1100. It's KFNX. It's the Rex Perry Show. And it's about 14 minutes long or something. And it was just such a positive experience, very supportive of what can we do to help the real estate agents know the Creighton community, the changes in the Creighton community, how do we hook you up with business partners, how do we help the legislature know the capital needs of the building. It was absolutely an impressive interview relative to the questions. I had no idea where it was really going to go as far as waiting for that shoe to drop, so to speak. And it was just a really positive experience. So I'm happy to report to you we did enjoy that. Thank you, Jay, Emily, for all that you did to help that happen.
Thank you. That will take us down to governing board reports. Ms. Sexton-Reyes, do you have anything?
No.
Ms. Yep.
Okay, Dr. Lewis just mentioned her radio show and the real estate agents this past week on HGTV. It's like find a home and get 3 choices. They go through and all that. It was local and they picked the Loma Linda area. That was their final pick, their home. And that was kind of cool. It went through our next door neighbor media thing and all this other good stuff. On 9/10, September 10th, I went to, as a delegate for ASBA and the voting. I was the delegate. There was a few changes. Number 21, there was a lot of talk about increase in compulsory attendance age from 16 to 18. And a lot of the school districts that serve the Native American community wanted it to be 18. And finally, somebody got up and said, we're talking about children, we're talking about school and getting them prepared. So that was passed without any changes, but there was a lot of talk. The number 15 was eliminate or ensure the change to current year funding accuracy, transparency, and ADM calculations, and continue to hold declining districts harmless for loss of funding. There was a lot of talk, and it was changed. What was passed on number 15 was eliminate the change to current year funding and advocate to hold declining districts harmless for loss of funding and ensure funding accuracy and transparency in ADM funding. And so that was the final, which was passed. All the rest went through with no problems. If you have any questions, I can make copies, or I can give you this, whatever. Also, last thing. This Thursday, across the street in Papago School, there's a community council and a candidates forum. At 5:45 is the light dinner, which is pizza. 6 o'clock is the community council, and at 6:15 it's the board candidate forum. We have 3 incumbents who will be there, and 2 others who are on the ballot. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Mr. Zaragoza?
Yep. 2 reports. Next Tuesday, to get in all the political pieces. Next Tuesday, September 27th, is the Arizona Educational Foundation is hosting Take Your Legislator to School initiative. Senator Katie Hobbs from 24 will visit Loma Linda. So board members, if you're interested in participating in that, please let Dr. Lewis and Hilda know. Secondly, Friday night, just a few days ago, had the sharing my experiences as a patron of the district, and there was a movie night at Biltmore, and I thought, who's going to be here? It's still 100 degrees to watch a movie outside, and my wife got suckered into PTO duties and posting crafts and all this other fun stuff. So we went, but it was amazing that for a school that 80% of the families live outside of the attendance boundaries, there were more than 100 people there, sitting on the basketball court, outside in the heat, watching a movie, enjoying themselves. It was a really tremendous sense of community. And I found it so remarkable that this is what people are willing to do, to come together. They don't live in the same neighborhood necessarily, but on a Friday night, spend the evening together. This was some celebration for the Mexican Independence Day. So it was remarkable. It was remarkable, and I know these things don't happen by accident. So just a real major shout out to staff and leadership at the school, for the former boards who have supported the development of this program as well. It's really, really fun and exciting and a little scary at the same time to be a dad doing all this work, but it was really reassuring. So just want to share that. Good time. Thank you.
Ms. McJeffrey?
Yeah, I attended the law conference last week, and there were a lot of really good sessions. I thought Dr. Lewis was to a lot of the same ones that I went to. One was a session on transgender issues, and I was pleased to find out that we actually have already addressed that in our policy, which is great. One of the things that I found out is that with the bathroom issue, it is so much more than bathrooms. That was the title of the session, to steal from them. But kids who identify as a different gender, they don't want to go to the gender neutral bathroom. They want to be included in the gender that they identify with. So that's not something that I knew, and I thought that was an important piece of information. And again, it's about pronouns that they're called by, names that they're called by, and once either the student or the parent asks that the child be identified as whatever they want to be identified as, then they're identified officially. You don't need anything else, birth certificate, medical history, none of that stuff. Once they say they want to be identified as a gender, that we need to recognize that and give them their rights. Otherwise, it's seen as discrimination under Title IX, which is the federal area that it lives in. So I thought it was fascinating. And there's a bunch of lawsuits out there right now. So things could change, but in general, it looks like it's going in the right direction, in my opinion. And the other amazing thing that came out of it is, because I thought this was the case, but it was great to kind of hear this confirmed nationwide. The kids do not care about this. People who have a problem with it are the adults. So we are continuing this problem. The kids are beyond it. They do not care. This is not a problem for the kids in the schools. They are so accepting. I think it's this generation, it's amazing. So we are slowing it down as adults by trying to prevent this from moving ahead. So it was really cool. You would have liked it, I think. And the other really cool thing we went to was a restorative justice session, which was also fascinating. I know that we're doing lots of work on our discipline, and what I took away is that a couple minor tweaks could change a lot for us in expulsions and suspensions. But it sounds like we're working on it on a much grander scale, and I look forward to seeing the recommendations that come out of that. But the other thing I learned is that Balsa's got a school where they're doing this, so it would be a great opportunity to kind of see. And I talked to Dr. Smith about it a little bit, and he said, it's not easy. it's a lot of work, more work I think than he thought at the beginning, but he said it's amazing. So it's really cool that we have a neighbor doing that, so you can kind of check that out. And the session that was depressing was current year funding. It's alarming actually. It's something that we need to really keep an eye on. It's not something we're going to know for sure what's going to happen with us, but the CFO from Balls presented, and they estimate, because they're a district with declining enrollment, and so that's the problem. If you have declining enrollment, it's going to be a problem. You lose override monies, you lose funding based on that. So they predict they're going to lose $1 million in funding for them. So It's really scary, I think. So something that we'll need to kind of keep an eye on and see how it will affect us, because it's not clear how it will affect us. So those were the highlights that I got from it, and it was good.
And didn't you say you had something else to say, Jeanette?
Yeah, I'm still a little ill, so I forgot that. I also went to the law conference for 2 days and attended many, many sessions. Arizona open meeting law, a couple sessions on different disability acts and new autism spectrum disorder and lots of different topics that relate to law, because it was the law conference. So it was very enlightening. I feel like I learned a lot. I went to a day and a half of sessions, and very good. Thank you.
And I have nothing to report. That will take us to consent agenda items.
Move the governing board approve consent agenda.
I actually, there's one that I wanted to pull, but I lost my, I'm sorry. I'd like to pull for discussion travel request, which is E.
Okay. Now we move the governing board approve consent agenda items A through G, with the exception of E, in accordance with policy EED E-R.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that leaves item E, travel request for recruitment efforts for Creighton Elementary School District to expand our search and finding exceptional educators to join our district for the upcoming 2017-18 school year.
Yeah, in looking at the documentation that went along with that item, I noticed that it's being, how should I say, it's being revved up a bit from years past. It looked like, I don't have it in front of me, I had it a second ago too, weird. Okay. But it looked like it would go into 5 states and about 10 different conferences.
So the travel request that we put forth is in anticipation that the federal Title II funds will be released. And what happened last year was we were put behind in obtaining like flight schedules and seats at these conferences because we didn't get pre-board approval. At this point, I'm not even sure that our Title II funds will cover all of the requests. So we're hoping to get board approval and then look at what the funding is and then come back to you if there's time, but just so that we can move forward in securing plane reservations and those things at this time. We do need to rev up our recruitment efforts given the state of teacher shortage right now in Arizona.
When are these trips planned for? The spring?
They're all for the spring.
The spring, okay. And what is the average that was spent on this recruitment to job fairs in previous years? Do you know that?
I can pull that for you. I don't want to give you a guesstimate,
Okay.
but this
Well,
is.
yeah. And I noticed that all the states were in really, really like northern, I don't have it in front of me.
Illinois, Iowa,
Winter.
Michigan, Ohio, and Utah.
Right. Okay, except for Utah. Utah's not that far north.
So those tend to be the states where we are able to attract teachers to sunny Arizona. They tend to have a little more of a surplus, even though now nationwide we're going into a teacher shortage.
Is there, I don't know, how long do these teachers stay though that you get? So you get a teacher from Michigan or Wisconsin and they come and then they see that the whole, our school population's a lot different than what they're used to. I mean, they probably enjoy the sun in the winter, of course. But how long do they end up on average staying? Because I know in Arizona, it's always been for every 5 people who move to Arizona, 3 move away. So that's all, you know, I've been here 40 years.
So I can pull some of that data for you that we share when we go over retention statistics. I just had a conversation 2 days ago with a teacher who moved here from Illinois, and she's in her 6th year now. We have teachers who come from ASU who stay 2 years and go as well. So it's not necessarily a symptom of traveling, but you're right. Some of them do move back home once they get the experience here.
Is there anything against, I'm wondering because our student, I know that also matching a little bit what our student population is, the ethnicity of our student population, that's probably not matching it real well if we're going, you know, to northern states and stuff. Is there any?
May I interject?
Oh, I just had a question. Is there any places that we can go that would match our student ethnicity or the majority of it? I know that,
So,
you know.
states in the Southwest that tend to have a higher Hispanic population are also tending to experience extreme teacher shortages.
There's no job fairs or anything.
I would hate to go to a job fair. So, for example, the Great American Teaching here in the state of Arizona, 8 years ago, we didn't even have time to speak to candidates. We are just taking applications, taking resumes, and barely saying hello. Now you walk down at the Great American Teaching, and we jokingly say there's crickets in the hallway. There are a handful of candidates that are needed.
Yeah, in these recruitment efforts, Dr. Lugo, I guess I want to make sure I'm not making assumptions here, but this is, you're focusing on college graduates. So they wouldn't necessarily, or at least veteran teachers.
So the focus here are the universities, and oftentimes those universities link with alumni, but we tend to get the college grads. And some of the other job fairs that you're seeing that we haven't gone on in the past are those that tend to have more special education graduates, because that's an area of high need.
So the potential new family members wouldn't necessarily have students they're particularly already experienced working with because they're mostly new.
Correct.
Okay. And also, I think Dr. Lewis said this once, but if we if Arizona schools hired 100% of its graduating teachers from the colleges of ed, we'd still end up with something like 5% shortage, is that right?
Yeah, so yesterday I was at the Arizona Department of Education, and statistics like that were shared for the number of people leaving the state and retiring. If every single student from our universities went into teaching, and that's not just the teacher grads, but every single graduate out of the universities, we would still experience a shortage.
Okay. So to me, that's just my perspective. It's compelling to find teachers wherever we can find them. And I have no other questions, thank you.
I just have one last question. Is there an amount of money that we're putting into teacher retention, like retaining the teachers we have so we don't have a high turnover, or not really?
So there's a number of strategies that we're looking at with teacher retention. Some of those came through with the tiered increases last year.
Is this?
Are we okay with this, Hilda?
Is this topic?
Yes.
Okay, this meeting.
No, I'm talking about, okay, no, I'm talking about the topic. Are we okay to go to the retention topic?
Just because it's like.
Yeah, and
I think it's related, I just want to make sure we're not, okay, thanks.
We can come back and share with you if you'd like, or do a board update on all the things that are happening on the sites and with the district on for teacher retention.
Okay, since we're approving a budget, that's what I was asking about. Is there a budget for that we're putting also into teacher retention? Because we're approving a budget or money to go into teacher recruitment.
So the we don't have a separate budget line that's entitled retention. There are many factors going into looking to retain our teachers.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move the governing board approve agenda item E in accordance with policy BED, B-1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that brings us to item
Thank
6.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Lugo. To 6A, educational services, professional development. Ooh, it's a new English language arts.
All right, we'll have Dr. Peterson introduce this.
Sorry, did my English teacher show there for a
Yes,
second?
ooh.
It's just like I had the same reaction when I saw the agenda on Thursday.
Yeah, and it's one of our goals.
President Castillo, board members, Dr. Lewis, campus members. We too are woo-hoo excited about coming and sharing as a huge piece of our professional development this year. We'll be supporting teachers as they're learning about the new curriculum, learning about their new one-on-one or two-to-one devices that they have. And tonight we're just going to give you introductory as to where we're at this point, and then we will follow up through you with other updates as to the progress that's being made. So I would like to invite, I think I'll give you your doctor here. You're ready. Mr. Dubin, Ms. Libin, and Ms. Chiago. I was going to come up and share with you as far as the professional development that's been taking place so far.
Good evening, Madam President, members, and executive team. It's my privilege to present to you this evening the update on where we are with our professional development practices. And I'm going to be assisted this evening by wonderful, wonderful professionals, and we are very excited to be here to share this information with you. Tonight we're going to be talking briefly about the long-range goals of our professional development program related specifically to the implementation of the adoption for English language arts, as well as the technology integration resources that we purchased. We'll update you on the progress that we've made to date. Ms. Chiago is going to share with you her perspectives as a classroom teacher, and then we're going to share with you our plans moving forward into the second half of our current year. So again, focusing specifically on English language arts and technology integration, we've established some long-range professional development goals. And those goals really closely align to the work done by our strategic planning team and the work done by this board. We're working through professional development to bring the strategic plan to life. So we're looking to support teachers, number one, in developing innovative, creative, and relevant learning experiences for the 21st century. That's not why we're not just talking to you about ELA, it's why we're not just talking to you about technology tools. It all goes together to create those enriched environments. Our second goal is to create connections among teachers across schools and content areas. Our district-wide professional development program provides us with a unique opportunity to get teachers out of their usual routines and their usual professional learning communities and connecting with each other across the system, which can be very powerful for teacher learning. And finally, we are seeking to maximize the impact of our new resources. Impact really in two ways. Number one, and I remember vividly hearing recently from the board, concern about not wanting to go into a classroom 5 or 6 years from now and find unopened English language arts resources. So we want to make sure that our teachers really understand all the parts and pieces, and these resources are comprehensive, many different kinds of tools, many of them online. So we want to make sure we're using them all, we know what they are, and also that we're using them effectively. So it's not just enough to take them out of the box and use them. They need to be used effectively to benefit students and their mission.
Good evening, Madam President, governing board members, and executive team. I'd like to tell you about the progress to date regarding the implementation of our ELA curriculum and the technology integration. So first of all, we started off the year with our leadership seminar, which was three days. 2 of the days were devoted to really learning about our new resources and technology implementation. So all principals, members of the instructional leadership team were present, and they were able to preview and provide input into the content of the teacher training and to learn themselves what was going to be planned for welcome week. So the way that it was split up. We had a half day allotted to Wonders, which is our K-5 program. The other half of the day was the 6-8 study sync. And then during that overview and introduction, we learned how the program was organized. We learned how teachers would be learning how to plan for instruction. We learned about the digital resources that would be available. And then the second day of instruction, leadership seminar, was devoted to technology integration. So for that, we had Advanced Learning Partnerships, which is a company that is contracted by Dell. And they provided us with, they will be providing us, they provided ongoing professional development there, and they will be providing ongoing professional development throughout the year. This one? He is the keeper of the, yes.
Just a quick question about the technology integration. So do you have like a technology integration specialist that's on campus, or do they just come for the professional development? I'm just curious.
No, it's a great question. So we actually started the year off in like July 13th. We had somebody come in, so again, a representative from Dell. They came in and we had identified at the school level what we are calling trailblazers. And those trailblazers were not necessarily just teachers of 6-8, but they might be a special area teacher, they might be a coach, they might be a third grade teacher. And the whole premise is to not make it be about the Dell computer, not make it be about the iPad they're about to get, but it's about really learning how to use technology to learn from and with.
So when you say trailblazer, then are they like a kind of a tech team that's on site then? Somebody who works at the school who's just willing to kind of go the extra mile and learn that technology so they can, help the staff? So you don't.
So they're the ones who are going to really try, because they've been identified as trailblazers. So they're willing to take that step to be the learner, to invite people into their classrooms, to celebrate the good things that are happening, as well as say, I worked on this, come and see, and that didn't work so well. Let's talk about how we can make it better. Okay? So that was the leadership seminar, and now we move on to Welcome Week. So during Welcome Week, the professional development was focused on our new curriculum and adopted resources. And so what we did is we had for K-5, and that included reading interventionists. It also included special area, our SPED teachers per grade level. We had members of our instructional leadership team talk about the new curriculum. And then the remainder of the day, which was probably out of our 6-hour day, was probably 5 hours, we spent it on really learning about our new resources. So each grade level had a McGraw-Hill consultant, and the objectives were pretty much like what we had in leadership, but with additional, obviously extended over time so that everybody would have an opportunity to learn. So we had the introduction to Wonders, we had the organization of the program, we had planning for instruction, the use of the digital resources, and then at the end of the day, we gave them time to really get in there and plan for the first 10 days of instruction. What I'd like to do is I'd like to show you one of the online tools that we learned during actually the Trailblazer to capture the excitement of our learning. And this is called Padlet.
So one thing about technology integration is you have to be a risk taker to be a trailblazer. So if this doesn't work, we're all learning together.
So it was a question that was posed, and then everybody can show their thinking up in the front. So you can see it instantaneously. You don't have to wait until after. Okay, there it is. So the question was, what are you most excited about? And so I'd like to highlight some of them. They wrote, I love that the standards are laid out for both mainstream and ELP. The guide is so easy to follow and user-friendly. I'm excited that lesson plans are already planned out. I'm excited to build out my plans provided with my team. detailed supplemental materials and lesson plans already written with big exclamation points. Excited, it is detailed and easy to understand. So you can see, this was just a 10-minute, we asked the question, everybody put in their responses, and then something that teachers can easily do in their classrooms on an everyday basis. So that was our August 4th, and then August 5th, we had the opportunity to have our 6th through 8th grade ELA, our math, our science, our social studies, our special area teachers meet, and the PLC objectives included digital tools such as Today's Meet, which Today's Meet is actually one for question and answers, but also a Kahoot, which I'm hoping that you'll be able to see it. The technology integration, and learning how to operate the student laptops, because it's not just enough to hand the laptops, but how do we operate them? What kinds of rules do we need to follow? And examples of how to build Google Classrooms. The teachers walked out of there so excited, so excited. Oh, cool, it worked.
So Kahoot is, this is just a demonstration site, but it's a really cool little tool that we put out for teachers that we've been learning to use. We couldn't do one in real time because it would get too rowdy in here, but they're really fun for creating quick checks for understanding, which is part of our focus with the Danielson framework this year. So they're a great technology tool kids can answer on any kind of device. You can throw out a variety of different interesting questions, and what's cool about it is it actually lets teachers set the sort of the amount of time you're going to give participants to respond. So you score points based on the speed and accuracy of your response. So usually there's some built-in collaboration time, and then you want to get your answer together, have somebody to lock it in for you, and then you can get your points. And when we do this with adults and kids, it gets pretty crazy. They love it. So it's a lot of fun. It is for basic kinds of questions, for review, for getting things started. But what we wanted to do with these tools was really focus on technology integration across the curriculum. So these aren't just tools for the 6-8 ELA classroom or study center kids. These are tools that can be used in the arts, music, physical education, intervention, and special education classrooms as well, because these devices are cross-curricular in their use. These kind of tools really lend themselves to that kind.
So moving on to past orientation week, and now our very first professional learning community was August 24th, and we expanded on the knowledge. They had a couple of weeks to work with our materials, so now what's next? And so what was next was for our K-5 teachers, we had consultants again from McGraw-Hill, one per each of the grade levels, and they worked on learning how to differentiate instruction within their classrooms. They also explored the professional development site, which is absolutely unbelievable, the amount of videos and professional development opportunities tabs that McGraw-Hill has to offer. And it has everything from videos on how to conduct a writing lesson, to how to set up centers, to how to do a meaningful discussion between students. So it's just laden full of information. They also explored an online professional development tab, as I said, and then in the middle school, the teachers had the opportunity to learn about digital citizenship and also learn about online resources such as Kahoot, as you saw, and other additional online tools. And now I would like to introduce Ms. Monica Chiago, who's going to share her perspective as an educator using our newly adopted resources.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and executive team. My name is Monica Chiago. I am a first grade teacher at Loma Linda. I've been teaching in our district for the past 9 years. This will be my 10th year. Overall, this is my 17th year teaching, so I've been in the game for a while. Thank you for allowing me to speak on the teacher's perspective with our McGraw-Hill curriculum. Again, this is my perspective, but I know teachers I've spoken to on my campus, but also teachers on other sites as well. Some do many, not just some, but share the same perspective that I'm going to share with you today. When I first heard about this new adoption last school year, I was very excited because I knew getting this new curriculum was going to help me in the classroom in ways that I needed. I needed help with being able to have materials at my fingertips to be able to differentiate the learning in the classroom, but also to give me some time to spend with my own family and doing things that I enjoy doing, because a lot of my time was taken in creating materials to help my students learn the Arizona College Career Readiness Standards, but also to help them learn in the ways they needed to learn, because not all students learn the same way or at the same speed. So when I heard that we were getting this new adoption, I was very excited. Fast forward to this year and that week of August 4th and the materials being delivered to the classroom. Oh my goodness. There are so many things that this curriculum provides. It probably could have filled your tabletops that you guys are sitting at. There were so many things delivered to my classroom. And all you could hear was, hold on, this isn't all of it. And they bring another load. And like, wait, this still isn't all of it. And they would bring another load. And that actually became very overwhelming because I didn't know where to start. It was like, where do I look for at first? Where do I go for planning? And how do I use these materials in my classroom that are going to be beneficial for them, but also in a way that they're made to be used? So when we got our initial PD, I was so thrilled that not only was there someone who knew this material back and forth, but were so willing to take their time to go through the different components, explain to us, this is your teacher's edition, this is how you're going to implement this in the classroom. This is what you're going to look at. This is what you're going to do. And when I got that PD, I started to be able to visualize how this material was going to be used in my classroom. I could say, oh, this is how I'm going to do this read aloud. This is how I'm going to work in my learning, my small group guided reading. This is how I'm going to differentiate this material for my students who may not be on grade level or who may be above my grade level, and was able to get tips on how to organize these materials in the classroom so that, oh, this student is struggling with this, let me just go to this section and grab this. Oh, this student needs to be pushed, let me just go to this section so I can get something that's more challenging. So the PD was exceptional. It was fantastic. The person just really helped lead the way on how to use the materials in the classroom. I am thrilled with the digital component of this McGraw-Hill curriculum. One, I am an iAchieve teacher, so I do have the one-on-one laptops in my classroom. So seeing that they do have this digital component just is fabulous, because now I have more ways to use my iPads in my classroom that are beneficial and meaningful and relevant to my students. And that will still help them get the learning that they need to get done in order to be ready to move on for the next grade level. So in my 6 weeks of using this, I've learned a few things. One, it is really easy to implement as long as we're taking the time to read through it first and to plan what we're going to use or what maybe we could leave out for that day. It allows for those enriched conversations, especially as an ELD teacher, that I need my students to, participate in. I need to help build those languages, and the McGraw-Hill curriculum really provides those opportunities for those rich conversations, but also to use the vocabulary they've never used before. So it opens the doors to a better vocabulary. My students have very much enjoyed the read-alouds. They've enjoyed the activities that have to deal with phonics and phonemic awareness, and they have enjoyed the stories overall. I mean, the books have just been really great and meaningful, and allows them to actually bring in some of their own experiences into the learning, which then helps tie the learning to them, which then, leads to actual learning. The content is presented in a way that is relevant and meaningful and simplistic enough for the students to comprehend, but it also does allow for that differentiation for the students who may not understand it at that time. But it also spirals throughout. So I've seen some things that we've taught, the first week, but also we're bringing it back in on the 6th week. So it does spiral that learning and does encourage them to continue using what they've learned in the past for their new learning now. The diagnostic tools that we've used for me to be able to level my students and be able to really pinpoint where my students are and what I need to work with them to get them where they need to be has been so valuable. Now I don't have to guess. I don't have to guesstimate. I actually have this diagnostic tool that I can see, oh, this student didn't do well with this, so I need to go back to this spot. Or this student just blew it out of the water, so I can push them in this manner. So the diagnostic tools that are associated with McGraw-Hill, I've really found valuable and useful in the classroom. And then all of this couldn't have happened without that PD. If we didn't have it, I know I would be lost. I would be stumbling through day by day. Eventually, I would have been able to get to where I am, but I think with that PD, we've gotten there a lot faster and have been able to use these resources in a more appropriate manner and be able to implement it much faster in the classroom than if we didn't have it. So thank you for giving us that time to have this professional development and also for allowing us to get more PD when we do need it. That's it, and I'm looking forward to student growth. So thank you.
So this is just an example of what quality instructional resources can be in the hands of an amazing teacher. So thank you, Monica, for sharing your perspectives. So we do have a plan for moving forward. We have 2 additional district-wide PLCs. I won't go through all the bullets, but they're there for your reference. What questions may we answer for these?
I want to just add a comment also that McGraw-Hill also allocated a full-time support to us, and his name is Dominic.
He's actually from Apple, and
From Apple,
Dominic,
excuse me.
yes.
Dominic.
His support, Dominic Creighton.
And Dominic introduced himself to the Leadership Council the other day, and one of the things he said, board members, is when I looked on the website and saw your beliefs and read loving each child as our own, I knew I was in the right place. And so that was an amazing testimony from someone outside the district coming to us fresh, who could be very detached and did that kind of connection for us. I just wanted to add that. I thought that was a nice cherry on top from Apple.
And he sends his regrets. He would have loved to have been here with us this evening. He is, as he says, back at the mothership in San Jose or wherever they are. And he's getting some additional training to bring back. But he actually he's an embedded trainer, which means he and his wife moved here from Albuquerque to spend a year with us. He rented a house in the Biltmore neighborhood, and he comes to work just like one of us every day to support us with this implementation. He's a wonderful professional. So we've really received a wide variety of supports through this purchase, and we're working hard to leverage every single one.
I have a question. This sounds great. I'm just, when you mentioned, like looking at it in the beginning, it was kind of daunting. I can understand that. And you had all this professional development for our teachers and that. And this program, I don't want to say eliminate, but it modifies making lesson plans for the teachers so they have more free time for home life or whatever. What about substitutes? Are the substitutes trained in this? Because, before a sub, I don't know, I'm not an educator, as you all know, but, a sub comes in, the lesson plan was there. When you have a substitute now, what does a substitute do?
So there is no substitute for the planning process that a teacher goes through to implement, things that they create themselves,
Right.
as well as to implement something like this.
The substitutes that do we have a bank of substitutes, Dr. Lugo, so they have an idea of how this works, or
So
as opposed to the children losing a day of learning?
we have 7 of the 10 positions currently filled with what we call a permanent guest teacher fill our long-term positions such as FMLA and those types of leave, we ask that they attend the professional development that's going on at the site with the team when they're on those positions. So they pretty much act as.
But what about like a day, you look healthy, but she got the flu one day.
Yeah, they do. They have participated in a series, or there's one workshop actually tomorrow of some guest teacher training, but it's more of the guest teacher as a professional, classroom management strategies, but it is not specific to the wonders.
So what happens to this program when you get a person that comes in for one day only?
So, would you like to talk about how you prepare for stuff? So our teachers work, they really prepare.
This actually happened to me last week. I had a substitute because I was in a training. And basically, I know like if a substitute was to come in and they were to see, this is what you need to do, they might just walk out that door running, because it is a lot, and we don't want that to happen. So what I did was a modified type of substitute plan. So of course, we don't want the students to lose that whole day of learning with ELA. It's very important that they get those reading and those enrichment activities. So what I did is I kind of modified the lesson with anticipation of this is what a substitute might come in having background in. So I looked at the different components, and I picked out what I thought were the most ideal things for them to work on for that day. So with the first grade curriculum, it's divided into different areas, phonics, oral language, phonemic awareness, spelling, high frequency words, reading. So I made sure to incorporate little activities of each of those things, and as far as like maybe like a worksheet, or they did a group activity of maybe sorting the words that we've been working on. So if last week we were working on short O, so they did some activities with those short A words that were still within our curriculum, but still easy enough for the substitute to do without having to open up that teacher's manual. As far as reading, my students still had to read the story that was assigned for that day in that book, but I laid out the questions and such that I wanted the substitute to hit upon and make sure that the students were having discussions about, so that what we were working on was still going to be able to come back the next day when I was there, and they wouldn't have lost any of that learning. So you kind of give them a more modified version instead of leaving the whole entire train out there for them. At least that's what I did, and I still found when I came back the next day, my students were still enthusiastic about what we were doing. So that's always a plus.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering if somebody calls in sick.
There are procedures in place that each campus have kind of like at-the-ready kit, if you will, for emergency substitute situations. The good thing now with this resource is that using these materials, you can build a pretty robust set of resources. Plus, at our campuses, all of our instructional leadership team members are equipped with administrative access to the teachers' editions of materials, so they could then go in as well and identify specific resources in an emergency case.
Just a quick comment. So what I taught, there was, I didn't have this type of support. And I discovered one day that there were 3 smart boards in a closet. So I went to go check out the smart board. They told me I can keep it in my room for 3 days. Some basic, this is how you use it. But nothing sophisticated, no integration into the lesson, just more technical expertise. So I checked it out, never returned it, no one ever asked about it, and I thought I was brilliant with this smart board, and the kids thought it was brilliant that it was in their room. And after I left teaching, and my wife left teaching, she went to work for Smart Technologies. And her job was to do some of the work that you're talking about, like help teachers integrate the technology into the lessons. And when I saw her practicing and pulling it all together, I'm like, wow, I maybe used 1% of this tool's capacity. I had no idea. I'm excited that we've invested in the professional development. It's not just enough to have the tools. like there is a science and an art to using the tools effectively, so I just wanted to thank you for that and emphasize, like, I personally know how important that is, and I'm glad to hear the testimonial from Ms. Chiago as well. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you very much for through this whole process. When you originally pitched this, you brought teachers to talk about why it was so important to them, and I think that's something we've talked about when it comes to teacher retention, is that teachers did not have the resources that they need, and unfortunately, this would not have happened without that override, the capital override passing. So I am so glad that we're able to see it come full circle and see Mrs. Chiago's enthusiasm for this product. It's great. I mean, it makes me feel, and I assume all the board members feel like we made a good decision about this, and that's going to be helpful to teachers. So thank you. And I just want to, I know firsthand that Ms. Chiago is a fabulous teacher. She was my son's teacher. So I'm glad you're still here.
She's not going anywhere.
On a personal note, I have 2 little kids at home who are harsh critics of most things, and they do report back to me on the implementation of the resources in their classroom. My daughter, who's in 4th grade, told me the other day, she's like, we really like the new curriculum, Dad. We like the online parts too. And you know, we only got locked out of it once on our iPads, and we're pretty sure it's not your fault.
That's great.
You know, we're doing something, well, similar in Isaac District. 2 of our schools have something called Digital Promise, and so we have people who are on our campus sites, and what Ms. Zaragoza said about like how important that piece where you actually, you know, and ours isn't even, we don't have a curriculum, but at least we have this technology specialist now at our school site who's, you know, rolled this out for several different school sites, and so she's seen, and we can even talk to them, you know, we can get on Google Chat or Hangouts or whatever it is and talk to each other about from school site in Tennessee or Hawaii, and then we can even do collaborative projects. So it's so important to have that piece there where they will come and help you learn the technology because they've been using it for, you know, much longer than we have as teachers. So yeah, it's a big deal.
I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't acknowledge the work of the IT department, because Suzanne's the lead. We don't have those specialist positions at each campus, but I tell you what, Suzanne works as hard as 9 individuals would work in supporting our site leadership teams, and she's just wonderful. Robin Griffith has been phenomenal in helping to support the development of the training, the building of agendas, the building of infrastructure, and Jenny has been a fabulous collaborative partner. So they're not with us physically up on the dais this evening. They are absolutely here and worked significantly to move this forward. We could not do it. And we're not done working with it. Thank you.
That takes us to item 8A, presentation from Edinburgh District Healthcare.
Good evening, and I'm very pleased to introduce the executive team that's in charge of Creighton from Aetna to share with us some of the wellness offerings that we have. We have Dave Madden, Ray Everluck, or Disco Ray, pronounced his last name wrong, and then Candace Cutler, who's our wellness consultant. So I'd like you to help me in welcoming them.
Go ahead, Disco Ray. Wow. Okay.
The ball's coming down in a minute from the ceiling, so just give it a minute. Yeah.
So yeah, fun fact is, so thank you, Dr. Lugo. I didn't know that was going to come up. Yeah, I won a disco dance contest when I was in 8th grade, so just to, that should give you disco indication of my age, but I also, I think it was to a recent hit of Casey and the Sunshine Band, so that should really give you an idea. Okay. With that said, thank you for having us here. We presented our wellness program to Dr. Lugo and her team last week, and she was so impressed with Candace. Candace is our wellness champion at Aetna here. We're all local. We want to thank you for allowing us to be a partner with your healthcare for your teachers and your faculty. Today we're just going to touch on the, I think I know how to use this. See if I get there. Okay. So with this busy slide, this is my only piece, and I'm going to step away. This is going to talk about part of the wellness component of our program that we provide to you, to your teachers, to your faculty, falls under the umbrella of a care management model. And so this is really a safety net. So what, we're not just going to be your claim payer. We don't want to be a commodity to your teachers and to your faculty. We want to be a solution provider. So we want to help you move the needle in terms of healthcare costs, but also health productivity of your teachers, so that these members that were just up here can come to school every day and teach your students in a way that is productive, so that they're attentive every day. Part of that is making sure that they're healthy and productive. So this safety net that we're talking about, we'll do something offline with Dr. Lugo and her team to talk about at the in-touch care, and that's just going to talk about, we catch all your members wherever they are along that healthcare spectrum. So what Candace is going to talk about is that proactive outreach that we do with your members, and where they can be a proactive participant in their health through wellness tools that your members all have access to. Beyond that, we need to take care of your members, whether they're a chronic condition or they're in that emergent risk category. They're pre-diabetic, they're pre-hypertensive. That's what this model is meant to do. And so we'll talk about that at another time with Dr. Lugo and her team. But that's the safety net. That's what we do to really to be a partner with you. This isn't about Aetna. This is really about how can we help your teachers provide that type of care and support to your students. One of the things on your mission statement that I really zeroed in on was the mind, body, and spirit in terms of how you want to create that safe environment for your students. We want to provide that same environment for your teachers and your faculty, and that's what the wellness program is going to be about. And Candace Cutler will talk about. So, thank you. Disco Ray's out.
I just wish I had a more fun name than that. Like, how do I follow that? Well, good evening. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm very excited to be here to share some of the wellness programs that are currently available to your population. So, your employees that are Aetna members as well as their dependents. So I'm going to start out tonight with the core wellness package. So this is 10 programs and resources. That's really the base of the package. So things such as our disease management program, our Informed Health Line, which is a 24/7 health line that's staffed by registered nurses that members can call at any time to get health information. So anything from trying to learn if they should go to an urgent care, to the emergency room, to I might have food poisoning, what should I do next? So some other resources here to really help make informed decisions for the group. The member discount program is something that I always like to talk about. So things such as fitness and nutrition discounts, hearing, vision, as well as our Beginning Right maternity program. So expectant mothers can register for this program, know what kind of appointments are coming up, education is provided to them, and lots of support to help them along the way. Building off of that core program is our enhanced wellness package. So this is going to provide us a little more of an increased focus on population health. So things such as our biometric screenings, our gift card incentive program, as well as our health assessment is what I'm going to cover here in the next few slides. But just really focusing on, there are proven facts that incentives can really help motivate people's behaviors. Because we all like to get money for doing something, right? I know I do. So that's my favorite part of the presentation I'll get to here in a few minutes. But I'll start out by giving you a little more information about our health assessment. So this is a 35-question assessment, very interactive. It's gamified because that seems to be very popular right now. Really helps to keep users' attention. It has mobile capabilities. A lot of research went into developing this program, and 12 to 15 minutes max it takes to complete. So not asking for a lot of time, but really gives us information, not only as the user, but as the organization, information on modifiable behaviors. So not just biometric data, but how am I feeling today? Do I feel stressed out? Am I worried about my finances? Do I feel like my kids are in a safe place? So really, again, encompassing more of the holistic view that we do in the self-assessment. In addition to that, we have our Simple Steps to a Healthier Life program. So this is our interactive online health coaching program that focuses on managing stress, weight loss, healthy nutrition habits. All of this is done online, which is great. So typically takes 15 to 30 days to complete these programs, and it's all self-guided. So we'll take a quick test to start, and then the program dives into what matches your needs. That's one of my favorite parts about the program. It's going to be beneficial to you. So like I said, 15 to 30 days to complete the program, depending upon what it might be, and members can choose which program they want to participate in. So maybe they are trying to work on smoking cessation. That's something that they can do in this program. And then the worksite biometric screening is another facet of that enhanced wellness package. So this is allowing your members to really get a snapshot of their health. So we partner with Quest Diagnostic Services. They're a leader in on-site lab services, as well as they partner with Sonora Quest, which I'm sure we've all heard of Sonora Quest. They come on site, provide a biometric screening to your employees that are Aetna members. This could be a venipuncture or a finger stick draw. As long as we have one on-site event, again, this is at no additional charge. This is all included with the package. One on-site event also turns on the patient service center option. So that means that any Sonora Quest location across the United States is accessible to your employees. So if they can't make it to an on-site screening event we schedule, because we all know we have busy lives and sometimes can't make it to these events, they can schedule an appointment at these locations and complete it just like they would have an on-site event. The great part about this, again, is going to give your employees a quick snapshot of their health. So it's not meant to diagnose everything, but it's really meant to give you an idea of where you stand, as well as give Dr. Lugo and her team a little bit of information to drive a wellness strategy, to help us really focus education and awareness on the areas that they really need to be focused on. So you and your employees will really benefit from putting one of these programs on at one of your locations. Quest really does take the lead with all of this information. They create customized materials, they provide an online scheduler, and then they really provide us with the analysis that we need. A 30-page aggregate report is provided to say, hey, here's what you need to do and focus on, now run with it. So that's what I really enjoy about it, is it's very easy to use, and again, providing us that information we need to know to move forward. So this is the fun part, right? I said we were going to talk fun stuff, I promise, with a little bit of money. Currently built into the program is a $50 gift card incentive for your employees that are Aetna members, as well as their spouses that are Aetna members. So that means up to $100 per family. So all that the Aetna member needs to do is complete the health assessment that I talked about a little earlier, as well as one of those online health programs. So the great part is here, we are asking employees to do something to improve their health. Get a little bit of information from the health assessment, do a little bit of something to maybe help fix an issue there, and then they get an email that says, hey, you're ready for a $50 gift card. And the best part about the gift card, there's 200 vendors available. So we're not just talking this is some random gift card, it's things like Creighton Barrel and Cabela's and Olive Garden. So typically someone can find something that would really meet their needs. I like to use this as part of a marketing campaign, especially around the holidays. Everybody needs a little extra holiday cash. So I'm happy to help create some custom marketing about things that might really resonate with your group to really get them motivated and understand that this is there and available to them. This is an annual benefit available to your employees, so something we can take a look at promoting year after year. But again, everybody's usually very open to listening to this because it does have to do with a little bit of extra money in their pocket. And I just wanted to give you a quick snapshot here of the reporting we have available, just so you know we have some metrics so we can really see where we're starting. And then we work with Dr. Lugo's team to really create a strategy, put some of these things into place to see, is it working? We spend time on this and we're putting the program in place. We want to make sure it's working. So we have a variety of methods here we can take a look at, different reporting areas, to really make sure we're hitting the right areas. And then Aetna does use a 5-step process to really put a strategy together. So I just wanted to show you that we do have something that's built in to really help us evaluate your culture, see what the goals will be, how we can support the goals, and then really reevaluate as we go. And I just put together a few next steps here for you. Planning a biometric screening event and then really promoting that $50 gift card is usually a great starting place to get all of this off the ground and get some motivation and momentum going, as well as defining a strategy and really helping to come up with the communications. And that's a big part of why I'm here, is not only to help with the programs, but I can help customize materials and really be support to Dr. Lugo's team on how we can get this going. And not just start it, but keep the momentum flowing for the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, to really help ensure a healthier population. So that being said, that is what I have for you today. Is there any questions I can answer?
No question.
No, I just was going to say thank you so much for the presentation. It was very informative.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, now that takes us to item 9A, business and plans. So the supper program that we just enjoyed.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Lewis, members of the executive team, it is an absolute pleasure. Erin Bronner, who's our Director of Nutrition and Wellness, was not able to be here with us tonight, but we're going to call it a good thing because we get to kind of meet in this formal setting for the first time. Mr. Rich Hall, who has joined the team along with Brianne, who is not here this evening, but these two new managers have really started to make an impact on the nutrition programs throughout the school district and have started to allow us to be able to delve into a broader range of wellness opportunities. And so I don't want to steal any thunder, but I think you're going to be pretty excited about how some of our timetables have accelerated. And there will be an action item that comes with this as well, because we discovered this week that we do have an item that we need the board to approve in order for us to move forward with this accelerated timetable. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the expert, who we are thrilled to have been able to steal away from a neighboring district and put some real fire behind getting things off the ground.
Thank you. Welcome.
President, Governing Board, Dr. Lewis, Kevin, thank you for giving me a few minutes to thank you for giving us the opportunity to do some special things in the nutrition and wellness department. We really are excited about some of the things we're going to do. And one of those is going to bring to you immediately is the supper nutrition program. This is a program that's mandated by the state's USDA and is regulated by the Arizona Department of Education. We're really excited to get started with it. To be honest with you, we're going to start on the 18th of October at Creighton School. This is kind of a different program. I will just hit enter. I know how to do that.
Here we go.
There we go. So anyways, there's 30 seconds of my life I'll never get back. I'll have to make up for that somewhere down the road. Like I said, it is, we're all oversaw by the Arizona Department of Education, and we have a really good working relationship with them. This district does in the past, as well as Aaron, who used to work there, and myself. So we're going to reach out and go beyond what normal districts do. And this is a program that most districts have stopped doing. We're not only going to start it, but we're going to try to get it to every possible school we can. And part of this is also the summer food program, which we hope to take from this year, this past year, a little 20,000 meals, which is pretty impressive, but I can see by the end of this year, next summer, our summer meals will be up around 160,000. And that's easily done, so exciting. Hours of service kind of vary between schools. We set the times that we want to do it, so that's kind of cool. Any child gets to eat, that's any age, so we'll take high schoolers in. Some people really are concerned, is there any security issues? That's something we have to deal with on a site-by-site basis, but with the staff that we have in the schools, I don't think we'll have any issues. I haven't had any issues with the summer feeding, or the summer or the supper nutrition program in the last 6 years, so I'm going to say it's probably going to be about the same. Also, we're going to let adults eat, and that's very important. Because a lot of times when you have a family of 3 or 4 children, mom can't eat, she's not going to bring the kids. So we're not going to stop that, we're going to charge $1. And the meal that you had tonight is basically what we'll be serving. Hopefully, I saw a few of you munching on it, and it's good. It's kind of cool. We can go beyond what we can do at lunchtime. We have some regulations we have to follow, but we can do some pretty cool stuff because it's important that these kids get a wholesome, filling meal for dinner. And you can see it's their idea of kind of some of the things we do: baked chicken, macaroni and cheese. It's wholesome, full meals. During the lunchtime, if you've ever been in our kitchens, you see that we serve tamales, or we serve meatloaf. We serve 3 ounces or 3.5 ounces. At dinner, we're going to almost double that because we want these kids to be full. And this really cool thing is The fourth meal each week is gonna be cold because it's gonna be on a Friday. So we're gonna do a cold meal, but we're gonna make it fun for the kids. We're gonna make them want to eat it. We're not just gonna throw a bologna sandwich in there from Sheriff Joe. We're gonna put something in there that's fun, exciting to eat. So we want a peanut butter cup with yogurt and granola and a celery and fruit and vegetables. So we're really excited about that. And then another thing that's really awesome about this program is we can test new things with these kids because we have more time than we do at lunchtime. So we can test new recipes and bring those things back to the district, and that's really important to us. Okay, here's the thing, impact to the Creighton. We're going to get additional nutrition support to Creighton students, families, and communities. Communities is a big thing here, because what's going to happen is our doors are going to be open to the communities. So maybe some of those children who are going to stage and taking our dollars, they see that they get the meal there. Maybe Creighton's a place that they need to come back to, and that's the point we have to get through. And I guarantee you, I would bring 2 principals from my last location with me and have them sit before you and tell you that Mr. Starker will tell you his enrollment increased by 75 kids after the summer meeting started. Because he was in there, just as Mr. Carbajal is going to be in his place, he was in there every night and he was talking to those parents, making that contact. So that's important for us. And enrollment's thing, and it puts us some positive news for Creighton. You know, school districts are all getting a bum rap these days with everything going bad in that district. And it doesn't matter if it's Scottsdale, Creighton, Roosevelt, you know, everybody has issues. We need some good things. And we're going to try to help in our department spread some good things for Creighton school districts. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'm one of my, how are you?
I noticed on your new, on the menus for the schools, that at lunch you have new item and it's highlighted, and then you have your regular, you know, whatever. I think that's a great idea to bring in some new items to the school lunch menu also.
Kids excited.
Yeah.
Good meat.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention.
Most of our kids in our district are food insecure. So this is where I ask for your signature.
After we vote.
After you vote. And then I also, account numbers for banks, I'll take those. Thank you for your time. Anything else?
I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rick, by the way.
Oh, okay. So it's available for any child, or only the children enrolled in the school?
Any child at all.
Any child, just have to be
Up to
Up to age 18, after that it's $1, right?
And now you said $1 up.
$1 for the adults.
Well, if an adult was to walk in without children, would they be allowed to eat or not?
That has never happened. We thought it would happen often at Roosevelt because we have a lot of transients down there. It never happened. So I can't answer that. I'm sure that the professionalism that our schools are going to have, Mr. Carbajal, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to know how to handle that. If not, I'm a phone call away.
Is that a no? Then if they were to walk in alone, then no one would be served?
We would probably, if I had to make that call, I would probably give him a meal as an accident and say, sir, you can't come back anymore.
Without kids?
Without children.
Okay.
So if a board member decides to check it out one night to see how it's going.
Well, let me know. I'll make sure we put some strips in there.
Call security.
It's late at night. We need to have a laugh, right?
I just want to say,
vegetarian options.
Over the years, you know, I've volunteered here and there, and more recently with my stepdaughter for her service project that she had to do for Taekwondo. And we went to Sunny Slope, and you know, the hardest part is just seeing the kids who are there, the families who are there, and so the fact, you know, this is part of those wraparound services that we kind of talk about. You know, like this is a really fantastic first step It makes me very happy. Thank you so, and I love your energy. You should really run for office someday. Seriously.
You want too many things in my closet. Sure, pants. What do you guys think? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to add a couple quick things and correct me if I'm wrong. So October 18th is our launch date.
It's our launch date.
After that. So this, which is when I mentioned accelerated launch date, and that's why he had his papers ready to go. He's like, we got to do this. We want to get started up on October 18th. When I heard that, I was just stunned that we're that fast out of the gate. Yeah, and
I'm sorry. If you guys vote on it and want to wait, that's fine. We're starting on the 18th. 18th, if that paperwork's turned in time, we can get reimbursed with it. But if that's set back a couple weeks, we're still starting on the 18th.
We have our next board meeting. The 18th is board night.
And
haven't at Creighton.
Go for supper and then come here.
It'd have to be early though.
Yeah. Go for supper and then come here. There you go.
Yeah.
Show up there first and come here next.
Dinner and a show. So, you got me going now. Wait, we're a dangerous pair to have working together. So, but the other thing I wanted to point out is the 21st Century program that's happening at Creighton School, and one of the really cool things about the way this whole program is kind of growing is it's not happening in isolation, and so part of what the teams worked on is working with site leadership so that way there's an integration with that after-school program which provides extended learning for the students and the access to the meals. So if a parent has their child in that, Creighton's primarily a walking school, if they have a child who's in that 21st Century program, when they come to pick that child up after the program, now they'll have an opportunity to come pick that child up and sit and have a meal with the child as well, or children. So I just thought that was really powerful. Well, exactly.
Yeah, thank you. And this is an action item for,
I move the governing board approve the child and adult care food program procurement policies and procedures.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I just want to add that, governing board, you might notice on the agenda, we have a feature now that ties each of our respective agenda items to our goals so that we can continuously show alignment. And I just want to thank Mrs. Hilda Juarez, who attended a training in governing board docs to take us up a notch on that alignment. I know that Mr. Mann attended that with her, and Hilda, great work showing the relationship to health and wellness and our adventurous learning goals and our communication goals, great, and community impact goals. Thank you for that effort.
Okay, that takes us to item 10A, the ASBA policy advisories, 548 and 551. This is the first reading.
Governing board members, the Arizona School Board Association has issued some advisories, mostly to be sure that there's precision in the language. So advisory related to the policy BDF asks that we follow all the explicit components of open meeting law relative to the board subcommittees or anything that we may have in place there. And especially if the group that's meeting on your behalf also chooses to be in executive session, they have to follow executive session protocol and law. So they just added a tiny little sentence into that policy related to executive session, so I recommend that you take a look at it for first read. And Mrs. Suarez, this is an action item, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the first
This is just information. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Okay, so just FYI, that's what we're going to bring to you later, and I think it's item E that is the only change in the policy as noted. Thank you. All right, and then we have policy KF, and Mr. Mann, it's a similar story. I just want to highlight what the main difference is for our first read.
Absolutely, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Lewis, and members of the executive team. This is a really minor adjustment. If you look, I think it's on the second page of this particular policy. About a third of the way down the page, you'll see the underscored portion that says the school district and its governing board employees and agents shall be named an additional insured under the liability insurance policy during the use of facilities and property. So it is already part of our practice that when people utilize our facilities, we do require them to provide proof of insurance and that certificate of insurance. This basically just puts into our policy that it is a requirement that all of those parties are named, and it's basically intended to indemnify the board and its agents against any sort of legal action in relation to other parties utilizing our facilities. And this was obviously recommended by ASBA and seems to be a pretty logical addition to the policy.
Okay. All right, that takes us to
Can I just make one comment? If you all have questions or something on this, what normally happens just procedurally on second read, I think they end up in consent. So if you have concerns, questions, obviously tell Dr. Lewis, and secondarily, look in consent agenda so you can pull it for discussion. I just procedurally want to make sure that was clear for everyone.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, future agenda items?
I have a few. I'd like to request the latest TEL raw survey data from the TEL survey. So I guess I need 2 golden red cards. 2. And then also, when Dr. Lugo was talking about, she was mentioning the data on the teachers. So I'd like to request data on teachers who have been recruited from out-of-state job fairs and how long they stay with the district or things like that.
And do you want to limit that in the last 5 years, or how many are they still?
Oh yeah,
because,
okay.
You know,
Probably in the
recruited
last,
for,
let's say in the last 5 years. Yeah. Thanks, Donna.
And then I have one, yeah, we just didn't have the goldenrod sheets last time, but just wanted to add, having a couple people come and speak about advocacy at the legislature.
Agenda items.
move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.